All right, day 3 of De'Aaron Fox Trade Watch has begun. Welcome into the Insiders. That's James. I'm Kyle. Jiffy Lube sponsors the program. Thank you, everybody listening on ESPN 1320 AM. We appreciate you all very much. Everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch at youtube.com/ESPN 1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN 1320. We appreciate you all as well. And anybody listening on the free Odyssey app and anybody listening on the podcast, if you're subscribed to the James Ham and Kyle Madsen show, available wherever you get your podcast and you're listening to this program via the podcast feed, we also appreciate you. The Oak Grove Kid talk line is 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. I know people have opinions about everything going on with the Kings, whether it's on the court or off the court. If you would like to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. Again, on the Oak Grove Kid talk line at 916-909-1320.
We haven't heard from Mitch in a while.
That's probably on me. I'll wear that.
Okay. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, I do a bad job of unlocking the phones and Mitch, because again, it's me and James on this program.
Yeah.
And I sometimes forget to unlock the phones. And if Mitch got tired of us, I understand.
Okay.
I get it. I'll wear that. That's not a Mitch problem. That's a me problem.
Yeah, I don't know when people are calling.
I don't either most of the time.
I don't.
To be totally honest with you.
Do you just happen to look down like,
the only way I can see, so peeling back the curtain, we'll have De'Aaron Fox and King stuff coming up, but peeling back the curtain real quick, I have a screen on the board in front of me. And on that screen, there's a bunch of different tabs that I can click through. There's volume controls and different auxes and different intercom controls and hotkeys and all this different stuff.
Got it.
The call control is where I see the phone lines.
Uh-huh.
And so if somebody calls right now, one of the lines will light up. And I can put them on hold. I can put them on through the board.
Okay.
If I'm not on that page, I can't see that someone's calling.
Oh.
And oftentimes I just forget to go to that page.
So there's not like a big red flashing light that says, "Hey, call coming in."
No, if I'm looking at you like this, I can't see it.
Well,
but if I'm looking down even a little bit, then I can see the flashing.
Okay. And look, it's been a stressful couple of days. It has been. So the fact that we are really focused on talking back and forth and not staring down at a board makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
If you want to call, please do. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. I would love to hear from you on the Kings' loss last night, on everything going on with the De'Aaron Fox trade. I know people have thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I know that there's a camp that's like, just trade him and get it over with. And I know that there's a camp that's like, do whatever you can to keep him. I know our buddy Matt George ran a poll. We talked about this yesterday, but Matt ran a poll on Twitter where the last I saw it, 403 votes. The question was, do you trust this Sacramento Kings front office to get a De'Aaron Fox trade right? Of the 403 voters, 87.8% said no. Whew. And I think that's probably a pretty good representation of where the fan base is at.
Yeah, there's now 569 votes after I had to vote. And 86.8%.
Oh, 86.8.
86.8% say.
Oh, it's turning the right way for the front office.
Says no. 13.2% says yes.
All right. We'll talk about the loss last night to a shorthanded 76ers team. Not the Kings' best performance of the year. My guess is some of it had to do with the trade rumors swirling. We'll discuss that. But DeMar DeRozan was on whatever podcast Lou Williams hosts.
It looks like Lou Williams and
back.
Danny Green, right?
Yeah, Danny Green, and I think it's Michelle Beadle.
Oh, that's possible.
So NBA newsbreaker, and honestly, this is a great question from our guy Lou Will, asking the question that needs to be asked.
Yeah.
Salute to Lou Williams, man. Here's his question and DeMar DeRozan's answer regarding a De'Aaron Fox trade. Again, this is via the Run It Back podcast. Here you go.
I want to ask you a real question, a tough question. You chose Sacramento this offseason over the likes of a lot of different teams. If Fox is traded, do you reconsider your future with the organization, or what would you like to see happen for it to be a positive for you to remain there as well?
Yeah, it's tough because, looking at the landscape before I came here, the guys I talked to was Fox, Domas, and Malik. Those are the core guys that, made it easy for me to make my decision to play here, and a key player, juggernaut in Fox, not knowing the future of that, it does make it tougher. I don't have much time left. I'm not trying to play another 5 years, try to maximize the opportunity we have now to play with a great team. You never know when dominoes fall the wrong way, when it comes to organization, it makes it tough, so it's something that, we just got to weigh out and see. And, for the meantime, make the most out of it, so we'll see how it pans out.
So I don't think he said anything out of pocket there.
No.
I think that's probably the correct way to go about it, because you don't want to lie through your teeth and go, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. I'm going to be here. I'm under contract.
Like while the locker behind you is burning.
Right. Yeah. So I don't take issue with anything DeMar said, and I don't want that to be the discussion, because I don't think he said anything that was probably like lying,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he said anything that I would blame him for saying.
No, I mean, it's honest. He's 35 years old. He's been in the league like 73 years, and it's come to a point where he can see that his career is coming to an end sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want to be stuck in the same situation he was in Chicago last year and the year before and the year before. And like, he's looking at his career the right way. And I don't blame him. And hey, look, if you're the Sacramento Kings, you should be looking at him in the same exact light.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I don't know what we're going to be doing here. And to be honest with you, I don't know if you're going to be the same player next year and the year after. And if there's a deal out there that makes sense to them, hey, they should be looking to do the same thing.
I want to use DeRozan and his answer of, I don't know what my future holds here if they trade De'Aaron Fox, as just kind of the avatar. Again, this is not, please don't take this as blaming DeMar, thinking that he's saying anything out of pocket.
Yeah.
But I think it highlights how precarious this De'Aaron Fox situation is, and how it expands the branches of it, and the ripples from it go beyond just the point guard position and the 1A position.
Well, of course. And like, look, every single player that is super meaningful to the Sacramento Kings has a major tie to De'Aaron Fox. Like, Domantas Sabonis was super excited to sign an extension here to play with De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
Malik Monk is one of his best friends and decided to sign a new four-year deal this summer after coming to the Kings 2 years before to play with De'Aaron Fox. Keegan Murray is Uncle Keegan. He's Uncle Keegan because he watches De'Aaron Fox's kids.
Right.
So, like, they're all tied to De'Aaron Fox. And when you take him out of the puzzle, it means that, there's nothing worse than trying to build a puzzle and figuring out you're missing a few pieces. But we're talking like 2 of the corner pieces are gone.
Right.
And there's no way to put this thing together because you're missing 2 corner pieces.
Right.
That's tough.
Man. Like, I don't know. I don't know, because my thought process in all of this has been, okay, if you do this right, you can keep your window open. If you extract the right things in trades, I don't know how much I buy this, but Shams Charania on NBA Countdown last night reported the Kings are receiving dozens of calls and dozens of offers. First of all, there's 30 teams in the NBA.
So dozens
Let's
is
do some math.
Yeah, that's tough.
There's fewer than 3 dozen NBA teams.
Yeah, he could only say a couple of dozen. He could not say a few dozen.
2 is the maximum amount of dozens.
A couple
dozens. 2 dozens. No, but even if it's the Grizzlies calling and going, okay, what about this offer? No, okay. All right, well, what about this offer? Like, that's not happening. So to me, I don't think they've received dozens of calls and dozens of offers.
I don't even know if they have their phone lines turned on like we don't sometimes, Kyle.
Well, we have the Elk Grove Kid Talk line open right now.
Right now. Okay, but you know what I'm saying?
We have someone on hold.
I don't even know if they have enough like people to answer the phones and to figure this whole thing out.
Sure.
It's
so
bad situation.
That's what all of this comes back to. I've tried to talk myself into, okay, actually, did this on the radio yesterday. Go back and listen. James Hammond, Kyle Madsen Show. Subscribe to the podcast. Actually, if you do this deal right with the Spurs and you stretch out your bench where you have Devin Vassell and Stephon Castle and you can get Julian Champagny, and if you can get Jeremy Sohan, like all of a sudden your bench depth is really nice because those guys in their current role with the Spurs are way underqualified for their roles with the Spurs.
Yes.
But they'd probably a little overqualified for the roles they'd have with the Kings as like 7th, 8th, 9th guys. Okay, you take De'Aaron Fox out, you got to figure out the 1A, but man, that's a deep team. That's a good, and with some good players.
Mm-hmm.
But it all comes back to you trade De'Aaron Fox. Nobody's going to be like, hey, actually, wow, we're better now. DeRozan's going to be looking and going, you brought in a bunch of dudes from a 20 and 23 team.
Yeah.
We're not winning a title with this group.
Well, not only that, but like he went through this, like the whole thing. Hey, let's bring in Zach LaVine.
Mm-hmm.
DeMar's been through that.
Yeah. You want to create the Bulls?
Yeah.
Want to create last year's Bulls?
The Bulls West Coast version.
Domas is way better than Vucevic. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, and I like Malik Monk more than I like Kobe
White.
Kobe White.
Okay, that's fine. Let's get to some calls. 916-909-1320. 916-909-1320. We're going to try and talk about the game last night, I promise. But let's get Don on the line. Don, you're on the Insiders with Kyle and James. What's up? Hey, Don. Yeah, it's you. Go ahead. All right, I'll try this. Justin?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hey, how's it going, man? You're on the Insiders with Kyle and James.
Not doing too well, man. I just need to talk it out to somebody that knows Kings because this is just very, very frustrating. I'm looking at I honestly don't know what direction we need to go because the way the front office is looking at it, they want to salvage this. They want to win now, and they want draft picks, which kind of typically you need to pick one direction. Losing all confidence in the front office. So I guess my question to you is, I don't think there's a route we can go to patch this. I think that the players on the team are definitely seeing the dysfunction in the organization. We have Keegan's extension coming up. So it's like with the front office we have, with the ownership group, actually, I guess mainly the ownership group, how do we create atmosphere where it attracts free agents, it attracts players, agents? I just think everybody's going to be steered away from Sacramento. As you know, back in the day, they said, welcome to basketball hell. That's back in the works. So I'm just trying to see, what do you think we need to do? Is there any resolution? Where do we go from here?
Great call. Thanks, Justin. Not trading De'Aaron Fox would be a great start.
Yeah. So we've had like a ton of discussions about this, right?
I want to pause you real quick. If you're on the phone, if you're calling in, we don't have a call screener.
Yeah.
So it's going to ring for a while. Just be patient. If you want to hang up and try and call back, please do. We want to hear from you. We just don't have anybody who can answer the phone, and I can only have one person on hold at a time.
Well, and Kyle's going to call you Don when he picks up.
You're going to be called Don. If it stops ringing and I say Don, that's you. This is a horrible setup we have, just to be totally frank. It's what we're working with. So we want to hear from you on the Elk Grove Kia Talk. And again, it might just ring for a while. If it does ring for a while and you get sick of it and you want to try back, please do. We're not answering because we don't want to hear from you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, like, I like to take a little bit of time to digest stuff. And I know it frustrates people because they're like, hey, how come there isn't a King Speed podcast tonight? And it's like, because sometimes it's better to not just be reactionary and
1,000%.
cry and freak out and, like have your podcast go viral because you're acting the fool. Like, that's not how my approach is. And I'll be honest, like, my thoughts on this change. They, as you get further away from the initial like shock and awe of what happened, you start to develop more of a, I don't know, like my analytics kick in, my mind that likes to dissect this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said it on D-Lo and Casey the other day, I would not be shocked if De'Aaron Fox is not here after before, if he's traded before February 6th, if he's not here by February 7th, I would not be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I think about this, the more like my mind keeps changing. And like Vivek Ranadive, first of all, loves De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he also loves the fact that this is the one guy out of all the draft picks that have come through Sacramento that hit and became a star. And we all know that Vivek loves to take pictures with famous people. De'Aaron Fox is a famous person, one of the most famous people in Sacramento, but he's also like an NBA star. And whether he's an all-star or he's not, or he makes All-NBA or not, he's still one of the top 20 players in the league. And replacing him is going to be nearly impossible.
Yep.
I do think that there will come a point where 1 or 2 or 3 options are brought to the desk of Vivek Ranadive from the ownership, from the management group. He's going to look at those. He's going to say, I want to sleep on this. And he's going to come back the next day and say, you know what? I can't do it. And he's going to try his best to fix this, to repair this, to get to the summer and make a decision on whether this is the right management team to make this crucial decision in this franchise's history. This is a pivotal moment where you can go right back to the doldrums. And this thing could spin out of control very quickly. Yep. You remember when I talked about this, about when you fire Mike Brown and then De'Aaron Fox opts out and then the front office gets fired? Hello, we're here. We're here.
It's happening.
We are right there. So, like, this is what we were, like, the cautionary tale that we were trying to warn you of. But I do think that Vivek is a guy who does believe in himself and his ability to repair a relationship. And I do believe that he's going to take one last run at this to make sure that he can't be somebody who fixes a problem and gets this thing on the right path. So I might have changed my mind on whether I think that De'Aaron will be here past the February 6th deadline. It can still happen. But I also think that, like, erring on the side of caution, you still have a year. You still do hold some of the cards.
I want to expand on that here in a second. I want to get to some of these calls, though. Appreciate everybody calling the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320. Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
Hello?
Yeah. Hey, Don, what's up?
Yeah, I'm just calling in. James, you stole my thunder. The owner's going to go meet with Fox. My buddy knows the owner's daughter. The owner's going to see Fox Friday in Oklahoma City, and they're going to sit down and have a dinner, and he wants to repair this with Fox.
Right.
There it is.
Got some insight. Appreciate you. Hey, what was your name?
He does not want to trade Fox.
There it is.
He wants to tell Fox he wants to make deals, and he's going to make deals to improve this team. That De'Aaron is too good of a player to get rid of, and if anybody goes before Fox, it will be Monty and Wes Wilcox.
Dynamite. What's your name, boss?
My name is Joe from Elk Grove.
Joe from Elk Grove. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's not just James Hammond that's the Kings Insider. Joe from Elk Grove also the Kings Insider.
There you go.
But I think I think that's the right thing to do here. You have to if you're Vivek Ranadive, forget Wes Wilcox, forget Monty McNair for a second. If you're Vivek Ranadive, your goal is to keep this thing from capsizing.
Well, of course it has to be.
Right. Like there's hands-off ownership, and then there's hands-off ownership where you just disappear and you don't exist. Then there's hands-on ownership like Jerry Jones with the Cowboys, where you're literally the GM as the team owner. I think there's a happy medium, because at some point, if you're Vivek, you have to step in and not over meddle, but go like, hey, we can't, like, no. This is not what we're doing. I don't care what picks you're getting back. I'm going to do everything I can to first repair this relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's the right thing to do, whether it's going to dinner with the Foxes in Oklahoma City, whether it's doing it in Minnesota, or whether it's doing it here in Sacramento. Trying, if ownership is not doing whatever they can to try and repair this relationship and ensure that De'Aaron Fox is not only here for the rest of this season, but through next season and signing an extension, then they're doing it wrong. So I don't know if it'll work out, but it's why I don't think, like, the more this goes on, it's why I don't think the trade deadline is a week from today. Noon next Thursday is the deadline. These kind of deals, you're not trading a De'Aaron Fox in a week.
Unless a Godfather deal comes in.
Right. Unless just, I don't know. I don't even want to make up a deal. This massive deal comes in where you're like, okay, well, we have to do that.
Yeah.
But because this is going to be a tough negotiation, because the Kings don't want to let him go.
No.
So that's why I think he's going to be here past February 6th. and they'll see what happens this year. They'll try and compete this year. And then, hey, if they're a first round exit and Fox is like, I'm done here, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm not signing an extension, then you can figure out the trade this summer. But I think you have to kick the can down the road as long as humanly possible.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think you also, just the way this whole thing is played out, there's a reason why the Kings are in this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they asked for help. Like, not only did De'Aaron Fox ask for help, his agent came in halfway through the season and said, can you please get help? That help has still not come.
Not even a little bit.
The only transaction they've made is to waive Orlando Robinson. That's it. That's what they've done. Like, you set your roster a couple months ago, and like, look, that's not to say that that Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox haven't done a good job of finding diamonds in the rough, of adding a player here or there. It's just, it's not enough. Like, you can see a team gets to a point, and if you can't push it over the top, or if you look at, one move that you made, and that move is like to add a DeMar DeRozan, who is like at midway through the season saying how he doesn't feel like he's got much time left in the league.
Right.
Like, okay, we get it. Yeah, that happens. But if that's your one move, and that one move also cost you a 6'8" small forward that everybody in the locker room loved, like, you got to keep doing. You got to keep building. And that's where I really, like, there has to come a point where you have to decide, is this the right group to make the decision?
Sure.
And a lot of the time it's like, hey, we can't do it. We can't figure out a way. No one wants to talk to us. Okay, well, maybe it's just
we'll find someone who people do want to talk to.
Maybe they want to hear from a different voice.
Sure.
Maybe somebody else has a different angle that can piece together a trade that makes more sense.
Yep.
Maybe that's what will happen here. I don't know, but I definitely know that trading away a 27-year-old star is usually not the right answer.
Typically not.
No.
That's typically the move of a team that's going to start careening downward before it bounces back up.
Yeah, just so people know, like, De'Aaron Fox has 8 more years in the league until he gets to DeMar DeRozan status.
Yeah.
Like 8 more years.
That's a lot of years.
I mean,
so many
like
seasons.
Half of his career, he's not even to that point. Yeah, that's wild. Okay.
The Oak Grove Kid Talk on 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. Again, if you're calling and it's just ringing, please be patient with us. We don't have a call screener. We can only have one person on hold at a time. If it rings for a while and you get bored and you want to hang up, please try back. I promise we want to get to everybody today. We want to hear from you at 916-909-1320. Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up? Hey, Don. If you're on the phone, just start. Yeah. We're talking to you. What's up?
Oh, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Well, not okay.
Good.
Just okay.
Yeah, I think this is interesting with the news. Like, you guys are talking about how DeMar came out in that interview today. It didn't really catch me by surprise per se, but I think it's interesting when you look at Malik Monk. He took a really big pay cut to stay here. He could have gone to the Magic, who were going to offer him. I mean, he didn't even look at any other team's offers. And you look at DeRozan, who said that Fox was a key piece to why he came here. And just thinking about how quickly everything soured. The vibes this offseason were great, and now it seems like we're in full, panic mode. I'm wondering, do you guys think, obviously the front office is at fault here because they should have made more moves, like you were talking about Mitchell, we traded him away. Do you guys think that it's a two-way street? Because Fox's agent with Rich Paul and them, they aren't making it any easier for us to trade Fox, because they're just saying, hey, it's San Antonio or it's nothing. And other teams might not want to take that risk now. It's driving his price into the ground. And in return, guys like Malik, maybe Domas, and maybe DeMar, they're kind of getting stuck. They're kind of getting the back end of everything.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I think at some point, you have to take care of the situation at hand. You got one fire burning right now. And once that fire's out, then you have to see how much damage was done. You have to assess everything. You got to go back and say, okay, is this thing structurally sound, or do we have to tear it down and rebuild? And there's a good chance that you will have to tear it down and rebuild. But as of right now, like, look, I still think that there is a way, number one, to repair the relationship with the players specifically. like the agent, everything else, like the player specifically. De'Aaron Fox has been an extremely loyal person.
Yeah.
And I know that this is not where he wanted to be in this situation, but at the same time, you can see the frustration. Like it's palpable. Like if you have listened to me talk, whether it's on a podcast or whether it's here on the Insiders, you listen to Kyle talk, we're all frustrated that you can't do anything, that you haven't improved the roster.
We want to have a different damn conversation about the Kings.
Yeah. Like,
and not, well, they could trade for this guy. They could trade for this guy, Zach LaVine. Like, what? I want to talk about size, athleticism. I'm so sick of saying those two words.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of it.
So basic. I
want to do something different.
You get to the draft and you're like, okay, they're trading the pick. That's all I heard.
6'2" guy. Bring him in.
Bring him on in, 6'2".
Okay.
Oh, but he's got a wingspan. It's like,
great.
He's a 42-inch vert. Okay. Right. Can he play power forward? The answer is no.
It's a no.
It's no. So yeah. I'm with you.
I'm gonna squeeze one more call in here. Really appreciate everybody jumping on the Elk Grove Kid Talk line today. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the call up. If you've been listening and it's not ringing, that means we're going to you. I know you can hear me right now because I know how the phones work.
And when he calls you Dawn,
when I call you Dawn,
you can go ahead and correct him and say, "Hey, this isn't Dawn.
Right. This is such and such," and then we'll start talking. Okay, here we go. Dawn, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
Yo, this is Rayshawn. A big fan of this show. I have a bit like a very non-understanding of just like what is Monty and Wes actually doing. I feel like I've been sitting here for the past 2.5 years listening to you guys talk about, and with James specifically, talk about how he just hasn't did anything or we had these deals on the table, and I'm just confused on why is that. That was just my only question.
That's a $1 million question.
Okay,
thanks,
so
Sean. Appreciate the call.
So in the world of sales, and trust me, being a general manager is just a function of sales. In the world of sales, your job is to convince somebody to say yes, and the person's natural thing in their mind wants them to say no, and you have to be better at making them say yes than they are making at just saying no. And that's something that the Kings have not been able to figure out. They have not been able to sell this thing properly. And partially it's because they don't have a lot to sell. But whatever they have to sell, just so you know, they are the ones who are responsible for that. Like, they're the ones that stock the shelves.
Yep.
They're the ones who have the picks and the players that they have.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's it.
You gotta go out there and sell what you got. And if that's not enough, you got to give more.
More on this. More from you guys. Your calls at the Elk Grove Kia Talk line, 916-909-1320. De'Aaron Fox trade stuff, fallout from the Kings' loss last night, and Zach LaVine keeps entering the conversation. We'll discuss all that next on the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen, and we're on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Leader. Clear. If you see any good talking points, just start them.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Just so you know, the Kings would gladly pay him. They would. I'll even star that, and we'll talk. We'll talk about that. Yeah. Me specifically. I mean, look, how many deals that are right there? And I know people in the past have said, "Hey, what is the deal that didn't get done?" Sometimes we know what the deal is, and sometimes we don't. Like, I don't know. Fartcat69, which is a silly name. I have not had a good sandwich lately. I do. I should not give up one of my secrets. There is a place called the Cheese Shop in Newcastle that makes an incredible sandwich called the Rat Trap, which is off the hook good. I should bring one of those to Kyle one day. We should break bread over
eat a sandwich.
A Rat Trap sandwich.
Never mind. I don't want that.
No, it's they take all of the all the different meats and put them all into one giant bin. So there's turkey, there's ham, there's roast beef, and then all the extra cheeses that are left over from the ends of the cheese block, and they put all those so you can get a sandwich with all kinds. You don't know sort of what
It's
the
just a
mix will be.
grab bag of meat
and cheeses, and it's so good. It's all on a Dutch crunch. Oh,
good question, Fart Cat 69.
yeah. Me and the family are good. Thank you for asking. Keep it real, G. We've been like, again, this is like, these days are long and they wipe you out.
Good question here. We'll save that one.
That one. A C.
Salute.
Primo J. Yep, just had a rat trap last weekend. Sorry.
I'm missing out. No, that's fine. Missing out. We'll save this one. We'll save this one.
Yeah.
Someone in the chatty house didn't like the Dawn bit.
That one? What?
Yeah.
It's a year and a half in. We can't change now?
Yeah, dude. It's a whole thing. It'll change the day we get a call screener and I can actually like say whoever's name it is, then the Dawn bit will go away.
Oh,
But for now, it's because here's the other issue is part of the reason I do it is because right now the person on hold is wireless caller. I don't have a name. Like I have no name.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go, caller, you're on the air.
Some people, it says their name and you know who it is.
Yeah. But even then, I don't, for a long time, my caller ID, because I was on my parents' phone plan, my caller ID still came up as my dad or my mom, one of the two. Yeah.
That's weird.
Facts, Katrina.
I did get James's burner
Mike.
phone. I have a second.
Thank you for listening.
I have a second phone now. That phone, two things. Number one, it has like when I call another number on it, when you pick it up, it has like an older woman's name. And then whoever owned it before me, like I think it was two people, one person who's passed away, and the next person who owes everybody in the world something. And who signed up for every single text message free thing that they could possibly get.
Was what last year? So we have a person like lined up.
Sort of. We should have just asked if we could use him this week. Realistically.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not gonna go ask right now.
He's here.
I know, but he's probably working.
Okay.
Medium cold brew, sugar-free caramel, and almond milk.
He's a complicated man, this Kyle Madsen.
Oh yeah. Yes. It was up until like last week.
Did I start this before? NBA Zach Guru, you can't keep asking the same question in the chat, because then if I start, which I already did start, then I don't want to start again, and so then I have to answer the question twice. But I do like that you're asking questions tonight, as opposed to making bold proclamations.
Okay, look, I get it. This sounds insane, but it's not actual caramel. It's just like a flavoring.
Yeah.
And it's actually better than their regular caramel.
Well, and someone asked me what's the difference, because my order at Starbucks is a venti skinny caramel macchiato, right? Mm-hmm. And they go, what's the difference between skinny and regular? And I say 400 calories.
Facts.
400 calories. Yeesh.
Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Yeah, it is the Insiders. The Insiders in your calls today. A lot of people calling the Elk Grove Kia talk line, 916-909-1320. Again, if you're trying to call and it's just ringing, have some patience. We're trying to get to everybody.
Yeah, we are. We're also trying to get to all the questions.
Yeah, we have a lot of people asking questions in Chatty House, and we're also trying to answer some questions of our own.
Yeah,
as we kind of maneuver through this, because we're in the same boat as most of you guys. So some housekeeping real quick. tonight on this very radio station on ESPN 1320.
Okay.
We got some good NBA hoops.
Ooh.
6 p.m. tip-off, Houston at Memphis.
Oh.
The number 2 and 3 seeds in the West. That should be a really fun game. Can't wait for that one. 6 p.m. tip right here on ESPN 1320. Also, the Kings are back home next week to take on the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic, a very fun young team.
Yeah.
Paolo Banchero very quickly entering that realm of player that when he's in town, you got to go.
Yeah, I mean, Paolo Banchero is incredible. Plus, you remember he has ties here. His mom played for the Monarchs.
Salute.
6 games in 2000.
Who could forget?
2001.
We're giving away 4 tickets to that game. We're giving away a 4-pack of tickets to that
4-pack.
To see Orlando take on the Kings February 5th, the day before the trade deadline. Maybe De'Aaron Fox's last home game, possibly.
Maybe.
Question mark. Enter online to win. It's that easy. You just go to ESPN1320.com. You'll see the contest page, and you can enter to win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Kings take on Orlando at Golden One Center on February 5th. Again, the website ESPN1320.com. Those tickets courtesy of the Sacramento Kings.
And Kyle, while you're there, how do you get that hoodie?
That's a great question. Well, this one you can't get. This is last year's edition. You can get
this is a
new
retired
model,
hoodie.
though.
Yeah.
You can get the new model, though. And this hoodie I'm wearing, you can check it out at youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320. The new edition is also very sick. Salute to our guy, Jim, who put these together, and salute to Jiffy Lube, who hooked us up. You can only get these through a contest or if you work here.
Yeah.
And the contest we're doing, we'll tell you how to win right now. You go to ESPN1320.com. So while you're there entering to win Kings tickets,
you're already there.
Win a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate and this hoodie all at once. It's not 2 separate things. You win both of them.
That's right.
You get a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate. You come into the studio. They ask you what size, what color, and they give it to you.
Yeah. Our friend Tyler was here the other day.
Tyler, our guy, Alan Holder.
Yeah.
Posting today. You actually do win in his new sweet-ass Insiders hoodie. So you can win that by going to ESPN1320.com. You find the Jiffy Lube contest page, and it's going to ask you for a keyword.
The keyword is...
Tell them.
I can't remember.
Distracted.
Distracted. Because I'm distracted.
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 Distracted is our keyword from last night's Kings loss to the 76ers because the Kings looked a little
distracted last night.
So you enter that keyword and you can win this sweet Insiders hoodie or the new edition of the Insiders hoodie brought to you by Jiffy Lube and a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate. They're hooking us up. Hooking you up, I should say, at ESPN1320.com. All right. Let's get back to the phone lines. The Elk Grove Kia talk line is 916-909-1320. Don, you've been waiting very patiently, and we appreciate you. What do you got on the De'Aaron Fox stuff?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Cool. It's extremely disheartening right now. As a fan of this team, it's hard to get excited for what's happening, and it's really sad from this point of view, just seeing how much of a lack of commitment there appears to be to this core. You look back over the last couple of years and just the refusal to bolster this core, this starting 5, this lineup, which has performed for you. You look over, from the beginning of this year to now, the starting 5 statistically has been great, but just no help from the bench. And it just sucks to see your franchise guy who you have tried to build around, but have just refused to commit to when he's been committed to you all these years, So my question to you guys, though, just playing a little bit of armchair GM,
please,
is how do you even make this right? How do you move forward from this and feel okay about the rest of this season? And from my perspective, I'd like to see De'Aaron stick around, but how do you make that work? Does picking up John Collins suddenly make this team feel better about the future? I'm just curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are about how do you even move forward from here in an ideal situation where we go, oh, that was weird, moving on.
Very good. Thanks for the call. I think 1, you have to make a couple of moves, and then 2, you have to win. If they keep De'Aaron, through the February 6th trade deadline. And let's say they go make a move for John Collins and Cam Johnson. Just let's say they do both. And then they go to the conference finals. You're probably you feel so much different. And this is all, dang, remember that? Wow, what a weird time that was.
Yep.
I wouldn't bet on that happening. But that's what it's going to take. You have to show the commitment to winning that De'Aaron Fox is looking for. And then you have to actually go win. You have to go prove that this is more than just hey, gold star, you made the playoffs team. This needs to be a team that gets into the playoffs and is a threat and is winning games and is winning series.
Yeah, and that's where I think that there is, like, when you pull back a little bit, like the Kings are in a weird situation where they don't have a lot of assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, we can talk about it as being self-created, this mess that they're in and all that, but that doesn't change the fact that they don't have a lot of weapons. So, like, there are players like John Collins and there are players like Cam Johnson that are good NBA players, but what we have yet to see is the one that, like, really makes you think, oh, well, that puts you over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of these other pieces are to fill needs that you have, like very basic needs. But there isn't one that just makes you go, okay, I want to stay there because of that. And, like, look, we always talk about fit being part of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could make the argument right now that, like, De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan don't really fit together.
I would agree with you.
And that there isn't exactly, like, a smooth transition here to that, And if you're choosing one or the other, and it's not because they don't like each other or anything like that, they like each other fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they don't complement each other on the court.
Right.
And so that's as big a problem. And I'm choosing the 27-year-old over the 35-year-old. And if there does become a deal out there where there's a tremendous player, like, that's where you go all in. So we're talking about, what can you get from this team for De'Aaron Fox or that team? Well, what if you didn't do that? What if you said, okay, what is the best player I can go get to complement this group? And it can hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to have to make some roster adjustments afterwards, but what is the best possible player?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think Fox and his agents and, the people around him, they're like, look, find that. Like, we didn't ask for, like, a John Collins that, again, like, not to disparage John Collins, but John Collins has been on the trade block for the last 5 years. It doesn't matter where he's at, what team he's playing for. He's always on the trade block. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So, like, he's a good player, but there are also some holes. And I still don't, the Kings are never in the conversation for someone bigger. And that's going to be part of the problem.
And that might be part of the reason why they want to wait till the summer too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that player's available right now.
Well, maybe that player's not available right now, but I got to be honest with you. 3 days ago, De'Aaron Fox wasn't available.
That's a good point.
There's somebody else out there that's available that we're not looking at that is available and you could probably go get, but it's going to hurt. And it's going to hurt in the way, like, all of your draft picks that you can possibly trade. And a guy like DeMar DeRozan and a guy like Kevin Huerter and just keep stacking, because we're talking about, like, if you really want to make an impact and maybe save this thing, go get a $30-40 million player, maybe a little bit higher than that can actually impact winning. And I don't know who that player is, but I have a list of who it's not, and a lot of the names that we've heard, like,
does it rhyme with Slovene?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. But he's not the only one.
Yeah, no doubt.
There are other players out there. I mean, for that matter, like Cam Johnson, it's like, okay, that's another Keegan Murray type player.
Mm-hmm.
Except for he doesn't have the upside of Keegan Murray.
Right.
And so
7
that's
years older.
Yeah, that's a different, like, you're not playing in the pool that I think Fox would like them to play in, or at least his agent would like to play him to play it, because, like, the reason
I'm okay.
But the reason why you're going to go pair with Victor Wembanyama is so you can be great together. Like, that's, like, if you wanted to do that here in Sacramento, I don't know that you've completely, like, that's passed you by. And I don't know what, again, the assets that the Kings have can get you, but that's where you should be looking. Like, how can I attack this in a way that makes this situation in Sacramento not somewhere that saves Fox from asking out right now or by the summer, but makes him want to be here for the next 6 to 8 years to finish his career. And, like, I get it. You put some of the pieces around him it clearly isn't enough. You're not good enough right now. You're 24 and 23.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a tough look.
Let's get back out to the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320. We'd love to hear from you. Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
Hey, this is George. How you guys doing?
Hanging in there, buddy.
What's up, George?
Appreciate the call.
Good. Hey, I just kind of rear view kind of going forward. I really think the year that kind of put all of this in motion was the year we made our playoffs, and then that following year we stood pat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when our guys had the most value, and we did nothing. And the entire West picked up people and got better, and we just stood pat. And I think if we would have traded some guys then to maximize our lineup, and everybody's talking about we need a 3-and-D guy, and I don't think that's it. I think we shoot plenty of threes, and I think we shoot them, mid-NBA to upper. But what we don't have is we don't have active size. It's why the Pelicans used to always kill us, because they're massive, and they just move our guys around, and there's nothing we can do. And so I don't know what to do now, because that window's gone. And I really would hate to see DeRozan go. He's our best asset to trade at this point, but it's like we would have to get another point guard, and then we would now have to get some size. And that makes things more difficult, because now you need two pieces instead of one piece. Yeah. And I don't know. I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on that, guys.
Thanks, George. Appreciate the call. Yeah, I got the idea when they stood pat after the 22-23 season, and in hindsight, I think George is correct. That was probably not the right move to run it back. But I understood the vision, but I think they could have done more to add more like Kessler, Edwards type players on the margins. Or you're just bringing in guys who are 6'8" and athletic and can play some defense.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not great scorers yet, but just trying to develop players with some kind of size.
I will tell you that running it back, like it was an interesting idea, right? But you got into the season, and I don't know what point, but we get to January and the team is like 10 games over 500. That's a good mark, and it's not to say that like they should have hit a panic button at that point, but everyone could see that there were matchup issues that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Again, at that point, you'd already been thumped by a couple of teams. And there was a point when the run it back idea it's fine if you just want to win 46 to 50 games.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't okay if you were going to take a next logical step.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone could see it. Like, okay, this team is good,
mm-hmm.
but it's not good enough. And then when you had 2 injuries at the end of the season,
right,
it wiped out any chance of you being
right,
a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. All that did was expose that you didn't have enough playmaking,
mm-hmm.
and that you didn't have enough size and athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go in against a Pelicans team and get mollywopped 6 times. 6 times, man.
I think the issue for me, and if you believe that at the time, I saw somebody in the chatty house and I lost the message, so apologies to this person for making this point. But they said, like, it's not hindsight. It was obvious that year they needed to do something in that offseason. And okay. I didn't necessarily think so. I saw the vision with, okay, let's run it back. Let's see. But then at that trade deadline, you have to do something. And they didn't.
Exactly.
And that was, it's like, okay, if you're going to go into this year and hope that, okay, hey, this leap from Keegan Murray, shot 41% and set the rookie record for made threes, he's going to take a leap and he's going to become this star, and Kevin Huerter's going to keep shooting 40+% and everything's going to be great, and DeRozan and Domas are going to take the leap from star to superstar, and okay, that's fine. But when that wasn't the case at the deadline, you had to do something. But this goes back to the front office, and this goes beyond the whole De'Aaron Fox thing now. this goes to something that you've written about at the Kings Beat several times. When they got to the trade deadline last year, man, PJ Washington would have really helped the Kings.
Yeah.
But they did not have the assets to give up to go get PJ Washington the way the Mavericks did.
Daniel Gafford
would
have helped the Kings.
Would have helped the Kings immensely. They did not have the assets to go get him. And that's where we can go back. If you want to say the ball started rolling on this Fox thing in 22-23, that's fine. But the ball started rolling when they just started giving away assets left and right in the name of roster flexibility or financial flexibility or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Being unable to go out and be competitive for PJ Washington? Like, not that no disrespect to him. PJ Washington is a really good player and he helped the Mavs make it to the finals last year, and I think he would have helped the Kings. But that's not LeBron James you're trying to go land.
No. Yeah. That's a problem, man. And look, I look at last season, January 9th, they got to 8 games over 500. It took that long.
Mm-hmm.
They were hovering around 6, 7, 8 games. What they were after they got to 6 games over 500, they were a 500 team basically the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They just floated there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, hey, this has gotten stagnant. Hey, this isn't working. Hey, Kevin Huerter's really struggling. You do not have the depth. JaVale McGee was not the answer. There were enough things on, again, Chris Duarte. You went out in your offseason, was Chris Duarte and JaVale McGee. And, that's tough. It's really tough to, look at that and say, oh, you did well. And, oh, by the way, is it just me or is that when they dumped their first-round pick to get rid of the contract of Rashawn Holmes? So, there are all these things that happen that you're looking at and you can get frustrated with. But, around the trade deadline, they were a team that had been 500 for a while. They had just won a couple of games and lost a couple of games, and it was just really, really difficult to take the next leap without making some sort of impactful move.
Just scrolling some tweets here. Brett Siegel from Clutch Points.
Okay.
Has a post up saying the league sources say the Kings are willing to part with a protected first-round pick in the framework of a deal for John Collins. And the two teams are engaged in serious John Collins trade talks.
Well, I mean,
but I feel like that's not new necessarily.
That's not new. And I'm not sure what exactly they're willing to give up in the Collins deal. But I will tell you, I said it yesterday in the air, I said it on the podcast, the Kings had a deal for John Collins all but done. They told their players that a deal was done and that they were going to make one more run at Cam Johnson. I know that to be true. And then they did not get the deal done with Cam Johnson. And even that took way too long. But we're now 10 days away, maybe 12 days away from when they actually made it clear that John Collins was about to join the roster. And it hasn't happened. And then you hear some murmurs that John Collins' deal might be tied up in the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes and all that stuff.
Why would you tell your players that?
You got me, man, because it's been something that's happened too many times. It's why Domas at his camp was like, yeah, they told us they had a couple of deals before and those fell through. And yeah, we're glad we got DeMar DeRozan, but at least we got this one done.
There's an art to under promising and over delivering.
Of course.
The reverse is so much worse.
It's always worse.
And they just continue to do the reverse.
Yeah. It's been too many times, man. Too many times that they have been almost giddy about something hey, we're going to do this. And it's man, that stuff gets out there, right?
Yeah.
It does. It gets out there. The Kings had deals worked out for the number 13 pick in the NBA draft. And then it fell through. And I don't know why those deals fall through, but at the same time, it's one thing to pull guys aside and say, hey, we're working on this. I don't know if we're going to get somebody, but we're working on it. It's a whole other thing to say, hey, we got this deal. We're just about to announce, we just about got this deal done, and then not have it go through. It's difficult.
We got to get to our guy Mitch in New Jersey.
Oh,
he's been hanging on the line very patiently. We appreciate him.
No problem.
Very much. Mitch, the Kings look like they're botching this entire thing. Your thoughts?
How you doing, guys? I wish they would keep Fox. I mean, Derek G was never traded. This reminds you of DeMarcus Allen, Carson Palmer. Come on, you're playing blackjack. You keep your king and your ace. You keep the guy and you add, you hit. Come on, take me good. I don't want to be seen trading Fox for anything.
My man, Mitch, appreciate the call.
There it is.
I love that guy. He's a man. But he's right. And this is the point that I think a lot of people were making, is if De'Aaron Fox had gone to the Kings, and this is not what happened, but if De'Aaron Fox had gone to the Kings and said, trade me, I'm out of here.
Yep.
If that's what catalyzed this whole thing, which it's not, at least as far as we understand, he had said, hey, push pause on everything else, trade me by the deadline. I want out. That's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened. So I don't see a reason the Kings should be trying to facilitate said deal, especially in a week.
No, I mean that deal could never happen. I mean, it's a guy that just keeps getting suspended. Like I don't want any part of the Jimmy Butler trade. I don't want to get tied up in it.
Oh, did he bring up Jimmy Butler?
Oh, sorry. I thought that's what we were discussing.
No,
So-
I was talking about De'Aaron Fox.
Oh, yeah. No, with Fox, but
I don't understand why there's
why you trade him?
yeah, Mitch was saying,
Yeah.
when you play blackjack and you have an ace, you hit or
Yeah.
something.
You double down.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, I know how to play blackjack really well.
Yeah.
But when you have a player of that ilk, you try to build around him, and like to a certain degree, I think the Kings have built around him. But then some of the players didn't take the steps that you thought, and some of the players regressed when you thought that they might go forward. And there's a lot to it. I also will tell you the Spurs Reporter, which is it's a Twitter handle that follows us. Sources tell me Kings owner Vivek Ranadive is flying to Oklahoma City, where Sacramento plays on Saturday for a sit-down dinner with De'Aaron Fox.
We had this first.
I'm told he's on a mission to convince Fox to play in Sacramento. No word on whether Rich Paul or Clutch.
We had this first.
Is the Kings reporter Joe from Elk Grove?
Salute to our guy Joe from Elk Grove.
Or the Spurs reporters listening to the insiders and just ran with that. Nah, that can't be it.
I don't think it is, because I don't believe that person would run with Joe and Elk Grove as a viable source. But God, I hope it is.
Oh man, it's like
I
really
need that to be a thing.
It's at 10:35 is when he tweeted that.
Hey,
and hey, the Spurs reporter has been tweeting out videos of our show quite a bit lately. So
I hope that person tuned in just in time to hear that and didn't realize we were talking to a random caller.
Yeah.
And he's running with it. But salute to Joe and Elk Grove, newsbreaker. That's why we're the insiders. And we're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. Got to step aside for a second. We'll be back in a minute on ESPN 1320 and Sacramento Sports Center. Clear. Oh.
Yeah.
There's a non-zero chance that that's the case, and that just really tickles me.
Yeah. Boy. Keep it real, G. What is my order at Starbucks? It is a venti skinny caramel macchiato, and sometimes I'll go iced, and sometimes I'll go hot. Like during the winter, I clearly go hot. Venti skinny caramel macchiato. But during the summer, it like amps you up quick. Like the caffeine hits you way faster. See, Noah, this is a great question. That's a good question, Noah. He doesn't really have to go that far into the tax because his GM and assistant GM hard capped him at 178. But hey, still a good question. We'll signal. We will, and we're going to call that the Rory Memorial question of the day.
Salute. I'm going to turn the mics off for a second. This is not discussing anything crazy important, everyone. So not a big deal what's happening. We had to talk about a show thing.
Okay. Hello.
I love this team.
R.I.P. Rory. That's
Traded
right.
for caramel macchiato and a flat white to be named later.
A flat white. One of Kyle's many drinks.
No, I tried one. I tried a flat white, didn't like it.
Kyle, you are a man of many drinks, though. Like, I am very much regimented, like, when it comes to my Starbucks order. Or my coffee in the morning.
Is the NFL coach move? I do this.
Oh yeah. The NFL coach move.
I'll find something I like and then just kind of stick with it for a while.
It's not a rat burger, it's a rat trap sandwich. Come on, get it right.
No, I have not, but I want to. Okay. Just for full transparency, we were talking about Joe and Elk Grove.
Yeah. And the Spurs reporter.
I think they're going to make a trade. I don't think they're going to trade De'Aaron Fox. If I'm putting money on it right now. And that's solely vibes based. That's not anything anyone is.
I could definitely, even if they don't trade De'Aaron Fox right now, he definitely could be traded this summer. Like if they cannot get him to say yes to an extension, they will trade him. And you don't just sit there and keep saying, "Oh, we'll build the team, we'll build the team." Like it's too late unless you go out and like make some crazy move that makes everybody feel better about the situation. But again, that's where I get to this point. I'm like, is John Collins that crazy move? And the answer is probably not. We do have the NBA All-Stars reserves being named this afternoon.
Hey. We're back. I want to save that, though.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the ESPN 1320 Insiders. Get ready for the most up-to-date sports news and talk with the ESPN 1320 Insiders.
Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're rocking with you until noon. Then we'll hand it off to D-Lo and KC. And those guys will take you up to 4 o'clock. Anything that happens with the Kings, we'll have it covered for you. So keep it locked in here to ESPN 1320. If you're listening on the radio and you got to get out of the car, we have the free Odyssey app. Download that app, search ESPN 1320. You just listen live right there. We're also available on YouTube and Twitch, youtube.com/ESPN 1320 or twitch.tv/ESPN 1320. You can find us there, and D-Lo and Casey are on this same stream. You don't have to change anything. Our show ends, their show starts. Nice and easy.
Yeah,
and we'll be
seamless
all over whatever's going on. Oh, you were talking about All-Star reserves.
Yeah,
the break. Those get announced today. Part of me is a little worried that the recent tumult is going to have an adverse effect on one or both of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis.
Okay, so I think for sure, like Fox's month of January has been rough.
Mm-hmm.
But Sabonis has been consistently like spectacular. I mean, he leads the league in rebounding. He's in the top 2 or 3 in 3-point percentage after another big, after he's been so good. He's shooting 59.5% from 3 before last night's game, the 15 games leading up to last night's game. The stats weren't downloaded earlier when I went to look on Basketball Reference, but I think Domas deserves to be an all-star. In his last, again, the 15 games leading up to last night, 20.9 points, 16.5 rebounds, 7.3 assists, shooting 62.1 from the field and 59.9% from 3. He also has 16 double-doubles in 16 games since Doug Christie took over, and he has 3 triple-doubles. And all of those stats are very much in line with every other stat that he's put up the rest of the season. He has been an absolute monster, and he has become like even better than he was before. And if he is snubbed from the All-Star game, I'm going to look at the coaches and very much ask if he was snubbed because one of their own got fired midseason and they didn't like it. Just straight up. So, like, the coaches have a big say in the All-Star reserves. The say in the reserves. And, bad things happened here in Sacramento. And that's why you don't want bad things to happen around Christmas time for your team, because it just, like, cements what people think about your franchise and about your ownership and about your management. And, unfortunately, the only way for retribution sometimes is to make the players pay for that.
The Kings are currently, what are they, the 10 seed right now?
Yep.
It's just, it would be so easy for coaches to look at the Kings in the 10 seed at 24 and 23. There's all this Fox stuff going on, the Mike Brown stuff from earlier this year, and going, nope, they're out. Rule out all of them.
Yeah, it's very, very easy. And it's very easy for them to say, oh, Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing on a team that's in the top 3 seeds. And it doesn't matter that he doesn't rebound at all for a guy that tall. And
he's on the 2 seed.
Yeah.
2 seed gets a couple All-Stars.
And Houston's going to get an All-Star. Who is that? Probably Alperen Şengün. So, again, you think they're going to leave Victor Wembanyama off the All-Star team? It doesn't matter where he's at in the standings. So, and, we forgot about the Brow. That guy's going to make it because he's a Laker.
And, they're the 5 seed.
So how many different centers did we just name? And
Şengün, Triple J, Jokic, Anthony Davis. Rudy Gobert going to make it? No, Rudy Gobert's not going to make it. Rudy Gobert's not going to make it.
No, Anthony Edwards will make it, which would hurt Fox's chances.
Man. They can't leave Sabonis out a second year in a row. Well, if he was putting up the exact same numbers, it'd be one thing, but he's just been ridiculous this year.
No, he has been ridiculous.
He expanded his game a little bit beyond the 3-point line.
Yeah, and last season he was ridiculous as well, and they had no right to leave him out the All-Star game last year.
Yeah, it was pretty
out of the All-Star game. So, look, I personally think when they're announced tonight that he will be an All-Star.
I do too.
I do think that he's second in the league in 3-point percentage at 48.1%. Like, he leads the league. I don't know that I've ever seen that. Like, again, he's 60, 45, and 78. Like, that's like, I don't know if there's ever been a guy who averaged 60% from the field and like nearly 50% from 3 and like well over 75% from the 3-point from
60, 50, 80 season.
Yeah.
I doubt that's happened before.
Well, I'm guarantee a 60, 50, 80 has never happened. And Sabonis is right there.
Tell me his percentages right now.
Right now. Let me click back. He is averaging from the field.
There we go.
60.9% from the field.
60.609. Okay.
0.481 from 3.
Where am I shooting percentages? 3-point field goal percentages. How much?
481.
Okay.
And 766 from the free throw line.
and 766 from the free throw line.
I guarantee there's never been a player to average that.
Free throw percentage. What is it? 761?
766.
766. Survey says. Stand by.
It's thinking.
Okay, so it has happened before.
Oh?
It has happened once for a player who played more than 2,000 minutes or 1,000 minutes.
Okay.
So Luke Cornett got really close with Boston last year, but he only played 983 minutes.
Okay.
He shot 1,000% from three.
But on what volume?
Nothing.
Yeah.
He took one. He went 1 for 1. So yeah. So two people have done it. Domas and Artis Gilmore.
Oh.
Artis Gilmore shot 76.8% from, 65.2% from the field, 76.8% from the line. This is the 81-82 season, and went 1 for 1 from three.
On the season.
So nobody's
total.
ever done it at any kind of volume.
At any reasonable volume at all. That's
in
wild.
fact, of the 13 people who have ever done this, 12 not including Domas. Domas has more 3-point makes than the other 12 people combined.
Okay.
Rashawn Holmes is on here. Did it with Sacramento.
Oh.
Not even the first Sacramento King to do it.
Oh, come on.
But yeah, he's got to make the All-Star team this year. And I'm really hoping that all this stuff, the Mike Brown situation, the De'Aaron Fox situation, my hope is that that's not something that, whether it's coaches, and again, we're going to say coaches because that's who officially votes, or who officially gets to vote. But it was my understanding last year when Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox were both snubbed from the All-Star game that we found out that some coaches just handed to like an equipment guy. He might just say, hey, you do this. I'm busy.
I do know, like, there's an equipment guy that I watch. Well, I think it was an equipment guy. We walk around the room and actually, like, ask a player, I need you to fill out your All-Stars, like, right now. Like, I watched that happen in Sacramento this, 2 weeks ago.
Sure. And players just going to write down some names real quick. Players they like. They're not going to sit there and sift through all the stats, right?
No, and it was very much like, okay, well, what about this player? Oh, yeah, I want him in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, I don't know what's happening here. But
so I'm going to ask, we should ask Doug. Hey, when you vote for the All-Star game, do you vote?
Well, yeah, but I don't know if did it happen before? Well, I guess it would have been him.
Yeah, I would assume so.
I would hope so. I would hope he would vote.
You probably need to ask him off the record.
Yeah. Well,
not in the presser, but
I think some players will actually tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
I just need to know. I just need to, I don't
know.
I think Domas gets in. I don't think De'Aaron does. I think that's how this goes.
I'm going to guess that's how it goes too. And I do think Domas will get in. Although, like, there's an uphill battle here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's going to be difficult, but he's well deserving. And, I always talk about that. Like, if he makes an all-star team, he's putting himself into like that elite company that makes the Hall of Fame. And he's super close. He's a 3-time All-Star. You start hitting 4-time All-Star. If he makes the All-NBA team, that'd make him a 3-time All-NBA player. Like, and he's still only 28. There's a possibility for way more, but it puts him in the realm of this is probably a Hall of Famer. And, you need to win and you need to get to the playoffs and you need to do all that stuff. But I also think that, like, that's why you want these awards. It's not because, you're going to walk around telling everybody, hey, I'm a 3-time All-Star. It's so you're starting to put your resume together for a Hall of Fame career.
Have you seen this Terry Rozier news?
Yeah, the Terry Rozier news is weird. Is being investigated.
Yeah.
For potentially illegally betting on games.
Connected to Jonte Porter, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
That's what I thought. I'm trying to piece together info here. Federal prosecutors, this is from the Wall Street Journal, have been investigating whether veteran NBA player Terry Rozier manipulated his performance as part of an illegal sports betting scheme. Part of a wider government probe. The same investigation has already led to a criminal charge and a lifetime ban from the NBA for former Toronto Raptors forward Jonte Porter.
Yeah, so I'm not trading for him. But I would tell you that that on top of that, there is the NBA has done their own investigation and has found nothing nefarious.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
But we'll have to see how it all plays out because
We'll keep track of that.
I trust the government to do their due diligence on that situation. Career prosecutors that are looking into that at this point more than I do the NBA peeps who clearly don't want another one of these scandals. Yeah, the Jonte Porter stuff is crazy.
Totally insane.
I mean, he was texting gamblers from the locker room at halftime.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that's going on there,
Just
the reports are like wild.
Not only violating rules and laws and stuff, but doing so stupidly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's bring this back to the Sacramento Kings. The De'Aaron Fox situation, of course, is at the forefront of the conversation. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. That's the Elk Grove Kia talk line if you'd like to join the show. And we've got Don on the line now. Don, you're on the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. What's up?
Hello?
Yeah, hey, Don, what's
Can you
going
hear
on?
me?
Yep.
Oh, I'm doing, hanging in there as a Kings fan. But I guess I have two questions kind of going off the basis of you guys saying I don't know if you want this to happen necessarily, you think it happened, but if Fox remains on the roster throughout the deadline going into the summer, two quick questions on that.
Okay.
If that is the case, do you think they should or will still try and get, i.e. a Collins or someone else? And then second question, if they do go into the summer, do you think they will, assuming Fox still wants to leave, do you think they will get more than trading him right now?
Thanks for the call. Appreciate you, man. So here's my thought on waiting until the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And if they decide to do that, if that would hold up another trade in season. I would hope not. Because look, if you know that, all right, we're not going to trade De'Aaron Fox now because we don't want, apparently they're receiving dozens of offers. If that's the case, they're not going to want to just go, this one. Like that's burning an asset before you need to. So to me, even if you know in your heart of hearts, even if Vivek Ranadive and Wes Wilcox and Monty McNair know in the deepest reaches of their soul that they're trading De'Aaron Fox in the offseason,
mm-hmm.
I still think, hey, you've got 3 months of De'Aaron Fox left, 2.5 months of De'Aaron Fox left. You got to go try.
I honestly think that, like, you can get a panic deal right here that somebody throws just way too much at you and you have to say yes. And, whether that's the place he wants to go or somewhere else, like, I do think that there's a possibility of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that, like, when you get to this summer and teams are removed from what they saw from their players and they're removed a little bit from their players, that's when you might be able to have, like, more of an honest discussion and a detachment from, like, what exactly is your player. Like, I know one of the key tenets to the Daryl Morey tree is that you never overvalue your own players, that you have an honest assessment of your own players always. And I think that that's how you sort of want other teams to look at their teams as well. And when you get to a certain point in the offseason, they'll pull back and say, hey, would you give up Stephon Castle? Would you not today, but maybe you would this offseason? Would you give him up when he's about to be in the slam dunk contest? I mean, I think Kings fans can remember Kenny Smith won the slam dunk contest in a Kings uniform and was traded like 2 days later. And everyone's like, oh no, we won the slam dunk contest. Our guy won. Oh, they got traded.
And he's gone.
Womp, womp, womp. DeMarcus Cousins was traded during the All-Star game.
Literally during the game.
That's why they moved the All-Star game. It is. It's why they moved. It's not the All-Star. It's why they moved the trade deadline ahead of the All-Star game. So it's not a distraction of the All-Star game. That's why they did that.
Wow.
Yeah, which makes more sense anyways, because you trade for a player, you might play 1 or 2 games before the All-Star break, But then you go into the All-Star break, you have a week off,
Right.
you sit down, you have conversations, you build that player back up, and they're ready to roll when you start the post All-Star sprint.
If you are the Kings, and this is just to get back to our caller's question, if you're the Kings and you've decided that, okay, we fielded all these offers, nothing looks like it's what we want. If somebody calls in with a Godfather offer here in the next 7 days, then we'll readjust. But the plan moving forward is to operate as though you're going to have De'Aaron Fox and you're going to do whatever you can to be as competitive as possible, so that next summer the conversation can be like, hey, that conference finals run was pretty cool. Do you want to sign an extension? Can we get you to sign an extension now?
Yeah.
Can we lock you in here? And if he says no, okay, cool. Then let's figure out with months on the timeline instead of days, or I guess weeks on your timeline instead of days, can you work out a deal that's maximizing the return there?
Yes.
And I think that's probably the smartest way to go. Now, whether the Kings do that, your guess is as good as mine.
Well, look, first of all, I was wrong. Kenny Smith did come in second place. I'm almost positive he came in second place in the All-Star. And it was stood at the free throw line, bounced the ball between his legs backwards off the backboard, did a reverse two-hand dunk.
Okay.
This summer, yes, there's going to be potential for you to move things around. But again, if let's just say I'm the San Antonio Spurs, right? And my thought was this summer I might be able to land that other piece to go along with Victor Wembanyama, and that other piece could be like a big name player in the draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm looking at, but if you were to trade for him right now, and all of a sudden you catch lightning in a bottle, you're 20-24, and you make the playoffs in year one. If you're the Spurs, if you accelerate your growth right now and you make the playoffs and push a team like maybe the Kings, but maybe the Warriors, maybe one of these other teams that are teetering,
mm-hmm.
you're able to ramp up and get to the playoffs now. You already got the player that you were hoping to get, and you probably gave up the assets you were hoping to use to get something this summer. And so it just accelerates everything. So maybe you do get a better deal right now, because it is sort of like a free-for-all.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, there are a couple of dozen teams calling.
That's the maximum amount of dozens.
Not a few dozen teams,
yes.
But a couple of dozen teams.
You missed it. Shams training on NBA Countdown last night. Clearly speaking for the Kings. Says they've received dozens of calls and dozens of offers. You can have 2 dozen.
2 dozen is a maximum.
It's the maximum amount of dozens. Don, you're on the Elk Grove Kia talk line. What's up? Hey, Don.
Am I Don?
Yeah, you're Don.
Hey, Don.
Today you are.
I'm Kyle.
Hey, I got a quick.
You can go ahead and tell us your real name. It's fine.
Yeah, my name is Bronson, so it rhymes with Don. It's pretty close.
Nice, dude. What do you got, Bronson?
Hey, I got a question for you. If in a world that we do trade a De'Aaron Fox, what would be the next domino to fall after that? Do they try to finish the year out with this same team and make it work? Or do you think they're going to try to trade other pieces now instead of later?
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. It's a good question. I would imagine they'd try and finish the year out. If they're hell-bent on trading him by the 6th,
yeah,
you make that trade, you maximize the return, and you go, all right, Malik, you're the new lead guard. DeMar DeRozan, going to need your scoring on a nightly basis. Domas, Keegan, everybody's got to step up and shoulder some of the workload.
Yeah.
But you're hoping to build out your depth, so now you're 9 or 10 guys deep instead of 6 or 7. And hope that works out. That would be my guess. I don't think that they would trade De'Aaron and go, okay, well now we're trading DeMar and we're blowing this thing up entirely in the span of 1 week. I don't think that's the case.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the quickest moving front office in the history of the NBA. I mean, it's possible they could complete at least 5 transactions between now and February 6th. And I'm being sarcastic. They're being able to piece together more than one. Could you still get a John Collins deal? Could you have John Collins trade wrapped up into the other trade? Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know that you're going to sit here and see the Kings make one move to trade their franchise player, and then boom, 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 they're making all kinds of other moves. You're like, they're not going to like tear this thing down in the matter of like 2 minutes. And I'd also like, I think we're still going to get to a point where the Kings need to make sure that they know exactly who it is that they want making the ultimate decision on whether they trade their franchise player or not, and whether they are negotiating that deal, who is negotiating that deal, and everything else.
Which might ultimately, and this goes back to what you were talking about earlier when our guy Joe in Elk Grove reported that Vivek Ranadive is flying to Oklahoma City to have dinner with the Foxes. Unconfirmed rumor.
Yeah, unconfirmed.
You brought this up that Vivek might be looking at Monty McNair, the GM, and Wes Wilcox, the assistant GM, and going, "You've made a mess of this. So you pause everything here. If we've got this John Collins deal worked out, cool. But pause all De'Aaron Fox related things because you two don't get to do that. He has his eye on, barring a Western Conference Finals run or a Finals run or something crazy. He has his eye on moving on from those two guys because they need to get somebody in there who's going to be able to work this thing out with De'Aaron Fox. He sees that as priority number one. That wouldn't shock me at all.
No.
If Kings ownership is looking at this and going, hey, they've made a mess of this. They, the front office, the GM and the assistant GM, have made a mess of this, and I want to find a different front office. That would not surprise me one bit if that's the route they wanted to go.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And to be honest with you, like there is a possibility that you go ahead and you make a John Collins deal, knowing that, like, again, July 1st, you get your 2032 pick. You're closer and closer to knowing whether you're giving away your 2025 pick. At the end of the season, you'll know if you make the playoffs. All of a sudden, there's potential for your 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. You got 7 draft picks again. If you give up a protected pick in the Collins deal, maybe you got like a 28, 29 or 27, 28 tied up a little bit, right? But John Collins is on a $26.5 million player option for next season. And you cringed, but I will just tell you, number one, the salary cap goes up. Number two, you get to this next offseason, and now you have a $26.5 million contract that you might be able to trade. And
it's expiring.
And so now you have an asset that when you go out into the trade market, if John Collins isn't part of the plan, there's also the possibility that John Collins opts out of the deal and leaves, and you have a bunch of money. There's also a possibility that John Collins opts out, signs a 4-year deal at a lower rate, a declining scale contract or something, and now you got John Collins as part of your group. There's all kinds of things but I think the key is that you would get John Collins in your building for a couple of months and see if you like John Collins and see if it's working out and see if he can help you. There are people in the walls that love John Collins. There are people in the walls that do not particularly care for John Collins' game. And you have to balance all that. And that's where, like, again, if they were all in 100% in on John Collins, it probably would have happened a week ago. That doesn't mean it can't happen today. It can't happen tomorrow, because that deal has been out there and they know exactly the parameters of that deal.
Zach LaVine's a name that keeps coming up a lot.
Yep.
I want to get to that with you. We'll do that here in a second. And of course, more of your phone calls on the Oak Grove Kia Talk on 916-909-1320. Is Zach LaVine a realistic option for the Kings? We'll talk about it next here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Hey, this is Kyle Madsen from the Insiders, and with the big game just around the corner, there's no better time to jump in on Underdog Daily Fantasy. I'm going to have a bunch of lineups for when the Chiefs and the Eagles play, but I had a lineup going last night because the Kings played. A stunner, by the way. Not only did I get 3 out of 4, which is a winner with the flex play option on Underdog's Pick'em game, which is really easy. You pick 2 or more player stats. You pick higher or lower on those stats. They got to be from 2 different teams, and then you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. So I got 3 out of 4 last night, and the one I was most confident in didn't land. So I had Malik Monk higher than 6.5 assists. He had 8 assists. That's a winner. Tyrese Maxey lower than 31.5 points. He finished with 30. Nice job, Kings defense. Keegan Murray higher than 6.5 rebounds. He had 6 at the half. He finished with 8. Domantas Sabonis had higher than 15.5 boards. I thought he'd cruise. I thought he'd have 20. Finished with 14. So I only got 3 out of 4. Domas let me down last night. Still had a triple-double. Still a really good game for the Kings big man, but he did not hit. But luckily, I was still a winner thanks to the flex play option on Underdog Daily Fantasy. So, Underdog's the best place to play. Pick 'em. Download the app, sign up with promo code KyleM, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code KyleM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Clear.
Clear. Just craziness all over the internet today. I do want to read this Andy Larson piece. He talked to John Collins today, specifically about rumors. I like Andy Larson. He's a good dude. Always said this, like, the Utah group is one of my favorite groups that come through Sacramento. Hmm. Hello, everybody. Zach, I mean, I get this question, and there's always going to be this question of why. They interviewed, I think, 3 people for the job. They gave the number 1 job to one of those people. Sachin Gupta was the other that they interviewed, who's like super awesome, and now works for Chelsea. But why you interview 2 people, hire one of them for the main job, and then hire one of the other people you interviewed as a number 2 job, even though they didn't know each other, is always going to be problematic. And but the problem is it's been 5 years, right? So it's not like we can't say, hey, they know how to work together and all that stuff. You got one guy who is the analytics guy who crunches numbers, who studies a draft, studies free agencies, studies all that stuff. And you got another guy who runs a lot of the business side of a lot of the business side of the basketball side. And there's a lot to that. So he's the one that makes the phone calls. Wes Wilcox is the one that makes the phone calls and does a lot of the runs the media relations staff and a lot of the other jobs that are there. So I think that there's always going to be like a GM, an assistant GM, or president of basketball operations. I mean, people forget that Jeff Petrie was a president of basketball operations, but Wayne Cooper was the general manager of the Kings for many of those years. So again, it's not that strange to have 2 people, but the difference I would say with, Jeff Petrie and Wayne Cooper is that they were lifelong friends. R.I.P. Wayne Cooper. They were lifelong friends that had played together, that had been in a front office together for many years. And there were other, like an assistant GM on that staff was Mike Petrie. And another assistant GM on that staff was Sharif Abdur-Rahim. So like there's the construction of this particular staff and stuff is a bit unique. But we're 5 years in.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
And we're giving away Kings tickets. February 5th, the Kings are back home against Orlando. Might be De'Aaron Fox's last home game. You can win tickets right now. We're giving away a 4-pack. We're giving away 4 4-packs at ESPN at 1320.com. You enter online to win. It is just that easy. Tickets courtesy of the Sacramento Kings. If you also want to win a sweet Insiders hoodie that's exclusive to this station, you can't buy it. You can get one if you work here or if you win a contest. A $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate and that exclusive sweatshirt. You can go to ESPN1320.com, enter the code word distracted at the Jiffy Lube contest page. Distracted. Because it felt like the Kings were a little bit distracted last night in Philadelphia during their loss to the 76ers. 117-104, the final score there. So if you would like to win a hoodie and a $50 Jiffy Lube gift certificate, which are two great prizes, enter to win now at ESPN1320.com. Did you see this? Adam Silver wants 10-minute quarters in the NBA.
Whatever.
That was exactly my thought.
Come on now.
10-minute quarters. That doesn't mean everybody's minutes are going to proportionally go down. You're still going to get your starters playing 36-ish minutes. But now there's even less time for middle tier and lower tier players to play. Their contracts are also already getting hosed by the aprons.
Yep.
We're just pushing out the NBA's middle class. Cool.
And it's funny you say the middle class because I mean
that
just,
might be extreme, but
no, you're right. Like, let me just explain. Like, the middle class in the NBA, you would think would be like a $8 to $10 million player, right? Maybe a $12 million player.
Mm-hmm.
The mid-level exception. I mean, it's right there in the name.
Yeah.
So like $13 million and below.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings have one of those players, and it's Trey Lyles, who makes $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the rest of the roster construction, and the middle class is gone. So Keon Ellis at league minimum deal. Just going through the list, Alex Len, league minimum deal. Doug McDermott, league minimum deal. Jordan McLaughlin, league minimum deal. Colby Jones, league minimum deal.
Jeez.
Jay Crowder, league minimum deal. That's 6 of their 14 rostered players. You can add Orlando Robinson. 7 of the 15 roster players to open the season are league minimum deals.
Mm-hmm.
And then add Devin Carter, who is a rookie scale at $4.8 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not minimum middle of the road. So you're looking at 8 dudes. The one other guy, like Keegan Murray, you can kind of put in the same bucket as Trey Lyles but he's on a rookie scale deal that's up to like 8.5, 9 million, something like that. But yeah, that's an issue. Like,
big time.
The middle class is going away in the NBA, and I do not want to see 10-minute quarters.
Be terrible.
Well, I mean, it takes away, like, it turns chess into checkers.
Yeah.
Like,
nobody's not watching the NBA because the games are 48 minutes long.
No.
That's not the problem.
No.
There are so many deeper problems than quarter length. And like somebody in the chatty house said, it's more commercial time. That's exactly right. Your game length is probably going to be about the same.
Yeah. I don't understand a reason to do that. And again, I don't like the middle class of the NBA going away. I actually believe they should expand the rosters and allow for more two-way players.
I agree.
And, again, I don't think it's fair that two-way players are only allowed to sign two-way contracts in the first 4 years after college, after they enter the draft or whatever, after they sign their first NBA contract. Because guys like Skal Labissiere can just tear it up in the G League and make the G League All-Star. He'll be at their equivalent of like the Rising Stars. Yeah. But he's like 28 years old and he's not allowed to come up on a contract unless you have an open roster spot.
Right.
And even then you're going to sign him like to a 10-day and then he goes back down.
Right.
Like there should be a way, like a two-way. I think 3 two-ways, standard two-ways are fine. But then I think that there should be 1 or 2 super two-ways and guys that, make, maybe 3/4 of a minimum scale contract, but they can bounce back and forth between the G League and the upper team. And maybe you make those roving, maybe like there's got to be some other way to help. So when you do have massive injury problems, or if a guy's just tearing it up and deserves a call up, you don't have to go clear a roster spot in order to pull him up. So yeah. I totally disagree with Adam Silver on that.
916-909-1320, 916-909-1320 is the Elk Grove Kia talk line. The handoff, I believe it's Damian Barling today, coming up in about 5 minutes. But let's get to Don on the phone lines. Don, you're on the Insiders. What's up?
What's up, guys? So I got 2 points, Kyle and Ham. One, with the John Collins and like the Cam Johnsons on hold. Like I've always thought, regardless of Fox comes or goes, or whether he stays or goes, that you go out and get those players because those players aren't going to be addressed during those trades. And if you're not talking about fully tanking, then you're still trying to make the playoffs. You're still trying to get better, and those guys make you better. But about the management, I've always looked at like Monty and Wes, especially right now. Like I get more of the impression that they're both like there's one's going to end up going and one's going to end up staying. Like I always feel like one's going to be the scapegoat at the end of this season, and I see that being Monty, and it's Wes that's been pulling the strings behind the curtain, or vice versa. I can't even decide which one it is, but I always feel like that's why Vivek always had both of them there now, is that one can take the fall at some point and the other one stays on, and they think somehow the fan base is gonna be not figure that stuff out. But that's all I got, man.
Right on. Thanks, Manny. Appreciate the call.
Okay, so they like to answer the second. Okay, so yes, I do think that like you can still go out and try to make a John Collins or a Cam Johnson trade, whatever. You can do that right now, but I don't agree that whatever if you're going to trade De'Aaron Fox, you could make a trade that all of a sudden makes a trade for John Collins just completely wiped out. Like again, I don't know that if you go and trade for, again, Devin Vassell and Jeremy Sohan all of a sudden is your 6'8", 6'9" dude that you're looking for, like this multi-positional dude. And so like there is possibilities of, or like Keldon Johnson, like maybe Keldon Johnson comes back in the deal. If you make a Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan deal, you don't need John Collins.
Yeah.
So now,
no
now what are we doing? And we gave up a pick and for a player who's going to play 18 minutes a night or 12 minutes a night, and that's not a good place to be in either. And so, like, that's why it becomes a little complicated. Now, if you're going to go do a Cam Johnson deal, I think there's a little bit more flexibility there, because if you get into a Cam Johnson deal, I think you can go back out and get value for Cam Johnson on the backside as like, hey, we added all these other pieces and now he's become like an extra. Or you can say, we got Cam Johnson, but now Keegan Murray becomes an extra and you need him to go do a different, like there's a lot of ways that works. That's one thing. And then the other part to that, the Monty and West situation, I agree that was probably the way this was heading maybe a month ago, but I don't know that that's the case now. I think that these guys are tied together at this point, and the problem is you can't lose one without the other at this point, because they have cleared like their separation on what they're good at and what they do, and I think that you can have issues with both jobs that are being done.
Yeah,
like the messaging, the phone calls that are made, the not getting the deals done, the talking to players before deals are done, those things fall on one guy, and the who you're going to get falls on another guy, and like the marriage between the two is like, okay.
The fact that an assistant GM has that much say is on the GM. Whether the I mean, whether the general manager is responsible, quote unquote, like physically responsible, not this falling under his duties, for this deal falling through, or that deal falling through, or this player finding out about this trade, or whatever it is. It's like if one of them's going, they're both going. Like that's the bottom line.
I think that's where we're at.
There's no salvaging it with one or the other and calling it good.
I think there was a point like a month or two ago where that was like really on the table. I do not feel that way at this point.
Yeah,
but maybe I'm wrong. And maybe there's a contentious relationship that's going to be had for much longer than like the next 3 months or the next 2 weeks. But we'll see.
We've gotten a bunch of questions in the chatty house today.
Yeah.
About the poll they put out on the pregame broadcast last night.
Oh yeah.
What should the Kings do with De'Aaron Fox? Man, feels like crowdsourcing.
It does feel like crowdsourcing. I did touch base with some people that I know there, and
It's the right question.
It was
for a pregame
they
show.
felt like they had to ask the question to be honest.
Yeah,
to be honest with their viewers, and so that's why they did that.
It's the right. I believe that's the right question to ask.
Yeah.
It's
So
disingenuous to try and go through an entire pregame and then an entire game and an entire postgame. Like, hey, none of this is going on. Sunshine, rainbows, Kings, Sixers. Here we go.
yeah, you can't
Not
ignore
realistic.
the giant elephant in the room.
Damon Barley.
Hi.
In the
Hey.
building for the handoff.
What's happening, guys?
You know, the usual.
Oh, that's funny. I just saw the board behind you.
Thanks.
That's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little.
I don't know if other people saw the board.
Cooked
earlier.
up
No, it's great.
before the show.
It's great. It's probably hard with the 3-person view, but no, it's very
That's
funny.
okay.
I like it.
Yeah. I'll move it for your show.
That's fine. It's still accurate when our show
It is
starts.
Still here.
Yeah, man. Like I don't expect this. Like I said yesterday, it's 7 days now away from the trade deadline. That's an eternity.
Yep.
Like 7 days is a really long time. This thing has the opportunity to manifest into something better or something worse. Like it has the, sure, we're engaging with Miami and anyone who, hey, doors open for business. And then all of a sudden, you get within 3 days and it's like, look, man, we're signing with one place. And it's this has the potential to turn ugly. It maybe have this. I don't know. I think it might have the potential to be resolved in a more positive fashion. I'm not really sure. I think the thing that might be most telling is De'Aaron and perhaps his management recognize that all NBA is pretty much out of the question.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to make it. He's having a really good season.
Yeah.
But it's pretty unless something drastically changes, and again, I commend him for this. He's dealing with two hands that are in a really bad way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to go away between now and voting.
Right.
Like he's going to be playing through this the rest of the season. So I think they recognize that all NBA is out of the question, and you can still maximize your dollars if you're traded today. And that's the proposition that you just didn't want to deal with. If the Kings were, 7 or 8 games better, maybe closer to the 5th spot, the 4th and 5th spot, rather than the 10th or 11th spot.
Yeah.
Maybe truth be told, maybe this wouldn't be happening. But I think the second you recognize that 300 and some change, 320, 350, whatever the number is no longer reality, then okay, what are all of our options? Well, one of them is to sign the 5-year, 296 here in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
The other is to get moved immediately and sign the 5-year 296 somewhere else.
Right, because if he signs as a free agent, if he plays out his contract with Sacramento and signs with San Antonio as a free agent, it's 4 and 219.
Yeah, and I think it's 4 and 230.
4-2-19 is if he signs as a free agent. There's a 245 out there that if he, I think the 245 is.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's significantly more difficult for San Antonio, though, isn't it? Because that's a cap space signing, which is a lot harder than this is our guy. We're re-signing him.
Right. Yeah.
And so it benefits San Antonio to get him, in their organization. It benefits De'Aaron Fox. And truth be told, because of that, it does benefit the Sacramento Kings because San Antonio can't. It's not like I don't think San Antonio is operating like Pat Riley. Pat Riley is in full FU. I care about nothing mode. Like he does not care. Like if he has to go through the entire season suspending Jimmy Butler, Pat Riley will do it. He'll do it to make a point, even if he has to give all of the money back through arbitration later on. He'll do it. I don't think the Spurs operate that way, and the Sacramento Kings certainly don't operate that way.
Doubt.
And it is in everybody that the line we were told from the beginning. If there is a situation that benefits everybody, we're open to doing this. Benefits De'Aaron, benefits Sacramento. San Antonio benefits De'Aaron and Sacramento, and the two should work together to try to get this done.
Right.
What if I'm going to throw another one in here that I don't even know why I'm going to say this.
Nice. I love when you do this.
What if they get through February 6th and De'Aaron Fox is still on the roster and he goes,
I know where you're going.
anyone notice my pinky's bent like this?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to go get it fixed.
Yep. And
because I want to make sure that I'm good for this summer when whatever happens.
And that's season-ending surgery.
And he's got something going on in his thumb that whether it's a sprain or a potential broken thumb in his right hand.
That's just a thing that's on, like, that would be a thing he could do. That's not
I'm just giving you a hypothetical.
Here's the thing. He should do it.
Sure.
He can't fix his hand without surgery. He has to get surgery.
Yes. This summer.
Whether it's now or it's in the off season, he has to. This is not going to be popular. I would not blame him if he did that.
Not even from
I wouldn't blame him one single bit if he did that.
From his perspective, no.
I hope he doesn't.
Of course not.
But I would not blame
watching him play basketball.
one bit if he does that. And I truthfully think he's a competitor, and I don't think he would. But again, I can't fault him if he does. He's been playing through that the entire, off season. He has the entire season. He has a rough stretch of a handful of games, and it's like, oh, his hands, rest him. And he's like, no, man, I just shot bad. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I'm just going through a rough stretch, and then comes out and scores 30, the next night or the next game.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he can play through this, but at some point, and I've wondered this even before this week, at some point, can he not play through it anymore? Like not the pinky, but the right hand.
Yeah.
That came into discussion because Jokic got him.
Yeah.
That's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Whether it happens in Oklahoma City on Saturday or it happens against the Orlando Magic at the Golden One Center next Wednesday, that is going to happen again. And there's probably, and again, I wouldn't blame him if the point comes, I can't keep playing through this.
Yeah.
This hurts.
Yeah.
So that's it's a scenario. It's a possibility. Part of me wondered, would San Antonio do that? Depending on the pick that they traded.
Yeah.
Part of me wondered, hey, all right, De'Aaron, we got you, baby. Hey, why don't you get that hand right, big fella?
Yeah.
Let's go and get that hand right. Don't worry about what this season looks like, because next year we kept our pick. We gave them Atlantis. They're going to be happy with Atlantis because they got some issues right now. And I hate that for Jalen. Hate it. I already didn't like that team. Really hate it for him, though.
Yeah.
Atlanta's got some issues. Sacramento's going to be happy with that pick. But we kept ours. So if we just linger around deep draft, and who drafts better than we do? Nobody. Just linger around the right spot.
Well, remember what happened when the Kings traded for Domas? They got him together for like 5 games, and then Fox missed the rest of the season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Because of his hand.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there's a lot, man. I don't know how this is going to be resolved or when it's going to be resolved. I really don't. Last night sucked. Last night to me was the first bad loss in the Doug Christie era.
I would agree.
Please stop donating money. I swear to God, I wish you guys would stop doing that.
That just cracks me up.
I know it's funny. You guys are just throwing $2 into the ocean at this point.
Do we know where that goes at all?
We have no clue.
Have we asked?
No. Who are we going to? Because once they figure out that our audience donates money, like, oh, look at these guys. Let's keep this money. There's probably between ad revenue and the wonderful people who watch and listen to, there's probably tens of thousands of dollars somewhere that we we have no clue where.
Just in an escrow account somewhere. I love that for us.
I guess.
Love that for us.
I love that they're going back and forth donating dollars.
I'm almost going to be, we only have like a minute here. I'm almost going to be mad if they trade for John Collins now. It's going to feel like a Band-Aid over cut that needs stitches.
I'd advise you to change your thinking.
Yeah, because that's probably going to happen.
I would not be mad if they traded. I wouldn't be mad if they traded for anybody at this point.
Okay.
For the because there's, I don't know, man. Herter and Lyles are out, right? And John Collins is in. Yeah, I'll take that. Whether De'Aaron is here or not, I'll take that.
No doubt. It's just, it would feel like an attempted distraction.
Here's okay, but I don't think it should be that. I think you move forward. You have to continue to construct this team.
Sure.
You have to continue to fix this.
I can still be annoyed.
Sure, you can. But what can't happen in my mind is the trade deadline comes and goes, and our little coward front office says nothing.
That's a good point. That's fair.
You and if you get John Collins, if you go and get 5 new players, but De'Aaron is still here, the day of the trade deadline, what was it, 12:01 or 3:01, whatever time it is, there is a press conference that says we've talked to De'Aaron. De'Aaron is he's going to ride this thing out with us the rest of the year. We'll approach this again in the offseason, just as all of these other organizations that we're hoping to acquire and wanted to win. We're going to try to win his trust back.
We sure there's a press conference?
Truth is, we screwed this up. What?
We sure there's a press conference?
No, that's what I'm saying. There needs to be one.
Sure. Don't have De'Aaron answer the questions.
It's going to be a complicated press conference.
We got to go because you have a show starting.
Yeah.
D'Lo and Casey's coming up next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us today. We had a ton of fun. Thanks everybody who called on the Elk Grove Kia Talk line. Everybody participating in the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN1320. We appreciate y'all as well. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. Back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until then, drink water and be nice people. Woo!